I'm very happy to be here. And I'm very happy because I think the subject of this event is exactly what we need at this time. We have had so many people leave Greece these past 6 years, and we need to find ways to utilize them in order to get things happening in Greece. So Reload Greece, you're doing a great job, and thank you. Now, I live in Athens at Openfund, where I have been for 3.5 years. We have reviewed about 2,000 or more than 2,000 business proposals. We have invested in 21 of those. In every case, we ask the companies and the entrepreneurs who come to us, it's a criterion that is not negotiable, that what they are trying to do, what they're planning to do, should be able to become global. It's not good enough to have a business model whereby you can dominate the Greek market by importing some idea from the States. That may be okay. You may have a successful business doing that, but it's not what we're interested in. We're interested in businesses that can become global. And that means that any innovation you have has to be innovative on a global scale, not just innovative on a Greek scale. So based on this experience, I will talk about how you can begin from Greece and become global. And I will identify the bottlenecks in the process. You can begin from Greece, of course, because there are things that you can build on. What are those things? What are those building blocks? First of all, there is talent, like in most other places. Greece has a lot of talent. What do I mean by talent? I mean generic skills like intelligence, creativity, things like that. And I also mean things that you can learn at school or at university. But my definition of talent here does not include skills that you get from long experience at work, because this is not so abundant in Greece. We have talent with generic, innate skills, things they learn at school. We don't have that many people who have experience. The next thing you can build on is science. Now, Marina has said how we don't yet have enough science-based ventures, but there is a lot of interesting research in Greece. Despite the difficulties of our universities, we have thousands of researchers who produce good quality scientific publications and who rank very highly in the European research and development programs. There is a big pool of people, of intellectual property, of laboratory results, of research findings, which have not been used up to now to create businesses. And this is the next big frontier in the Greek economy. If we can find ways to motivate these people and to utilize these people, this will be a breakthrough. Third, there is what we call domain expertise. By that I mean knowledge of specific industries. And there are a few industries in Greece that are booming, like tourism, like shipping. There's also small-scale agriculture, which is very different from large-scale agriculture. The fact that in Greece we have small-scale agriculture provides opportunities for people to study how small farmers work and provide solutions for them. There are engineering services. We have so many engineers in Dubai or in Norway and so on, and we know how engineers work, and we can build platforms to help engineers. So we have some industries in Greece where there is a critical mass available among Greeks for you to plan a product, refine a product, get your first few good customers, and then position yourself as an international expert in that particular field. We also have what I call institutional savvy. We understand emerging markets as well as developed markets. We understand chaotic cities as well as organized cities. We understand micro-businesses that make up the economies of very, very many countries, but they do not make up the economies of the United States, for example, or of Britain. We understand micro-businesses. Taxibit, for example, was successful because it was one of the first apps for finding taxis, but it was specifically tailored for cities where taxis are operated by single owners, not by large companies, and where the quality of service of taxis is very, very problematic. Now, this is cities all over the emerging markets, all over the third world. It's not a characteristic of London, but there are a lot of cities out there that need this type of thing, and this is why Taxibit was successful in Latin America. And finally, you can capitalize on what I call the survival instincts of Greeks, of a society that is trying to adjust to the crisis and to build new businesses in tough conditions. We can make do with less. People are paid much less here than they are in Britain or in the US. Here, I mean Athens, sorry about that. They are more loyal to the company. Marina mentioned that also. They are not mercenaries looking for a better offer every few months. And when things get tough, when the money runs out, the team will stay together through the difficult patch and try and hope that they can make it work over the next few months. This is not something you find in the very, very booming talent markets in the States or in Britain. So you have all this. What is missing, however, at home, and which you somehow have to overcome, is first of all that you do not have a big enough local market. You cannot find enough users in Greece. And when I say enough, that may mean two things. It may either mean enough users to make your business profitable, or, if you can't manage that, to make it at least attractive enough to an international investor. A lot of international investors, in order to invest in a startup, first want to see what they call traction. They have, according to the business you're in, they have a number in mind of users, a number of users, which they feel is the triggering point beyond which they can examine your business. If you don't have 1,000 users in such a business or 1,000,000 users in another business, then we're not going to invest in you. And in a small market like Greece, you cannot get this number of users. We also do not have specialist skills. We have a lot of people with general skills. We have a lot of developers in Java, for example. If you're looking for somebody in Haskell, you won't find them in Greece. Vasily, I think he was mentioned that he was looking for people who are digital utility specialists. He cannot find those in Greece. Now, at some stage in the development of your product, you are going to need people that have specialist skills that are not available in Greece. And this is the time, and especially if you need a lot of those people, if you just need one, you can recruit him and bring him to Athens or Thessaloniki. But if you need 10 of those people, then probably you need to have an office somewhere else. We don't have enough people with corporate experience. Now, Greece is an economy of very small businesses. The flip side of that is we have very, very few large corporations, which means that we don't have very many people with experience in working in large corporations. And if you work in large corporations, this is where you learn a lot of basic skills for a company that is growing, how to work in teams, how to document your product, how to work against deadlines defined by others, how to standardize your processes, how to sell to large customers. Things like that you learn after you've worked in a substantial business for a few years. So in Greece, you will have difficulty finding people with that experience. Again, you may have to recruit from abroad, people like that. And finally, what you don't have in Greece is investors beyond a certain size. In the current environment, you may get your first 100,000 euro from an investor in Greece, maybe up to 1 million from an investor in Greece, but beyond that, you need to find investors elsewhere. And elsewhere means Berlin, means London, means San Francisco. So if you are successful in your first steps in Greece, you will need to expand to other markets pretty quickly. However, international expansion means different things according to your business model. And from my experience, I have classified the challenges to expansion according to the business model in 3 big categories. I call these models, the low-touch model, the rollout model, and the high-engagement model, and I'll spend a few minutes on each of those. The low-touch model. This is about digital products most of the time, or platforms, and it's things that you can sell through web-based marketing from a website. Users can learn to use these products within minutes. That's why I call them low-touch. And they decide for themselves if they want to keep using them. If designed well, it really does not matter where the user is based or where you are based. Those products are location agnostic. Workable, which several people have mentioned here today, which is one of our investee companies, has one of these low-touch products for small businesses. The first paying subscriber they got when they started 3 years ago was in New Zealand, and Workable was in Athens, and the next few subscribers were all in the States. And even to this day, they have very, very, very few Greek subscribers. I think less than 2% of the revenue is actually from Greece, even though Workable, by now they're based in Boston for their sales, but until last year they were based in Greece. Now, Workable is a software as a service hiring platform to help small businesses to organize their hiring better. It's nothing very sexy, but it's extremely well designed. And the secret of the success is that it is extremely easy to learn to use and extremely easy to learn to use the additional features that Workable is providing. So you do not need a long sales process to convince people to subscribe. On the basis of excellent execution, 1 year after we invested, Workable got a second round from investors in London, and 1 year after that, they got a third round from investors based in the States. They now have raised capital on a total of $35 million US, and they're worth about $100 million at the moment. And just before the last funding round, one of the two founders moved to Boston, as Marina mentioned, and he's in charge of sales and marketing. Spiros Mayatis has remained in Athens, and he's in charge of product development and customer support. This is the kind of dual geography that you need to have in mind when we expand, and the panel talked a lot about that. But in these low-touch models, in order to succeed, you will need to get capital from global VCs very early on. It doesn't cost very much to have the first version of your product. This is not capital intensive. But what becomes capital intensive is marketing and sales efforts. There you need more than 10 million to really start getting traction, and perhaps more than that. The unit economics of low-touch products are such that you do not get profitable with a low number of users. You need a high number of users to become profitable. And the other problem with these low-touch products is that there are competitors everywhere. What you're doing is usually not really unique. It's very similar to what other people are doing. So it's not breakthrough technology that will get you through, that will be the secret to your success. It's very, very good execution on details. And this is very hard to do, and very often it's a matter of luck. I mean, you may have perhaps a better platform technically, but somebody in Helsinki has a better user interface, have thought a clever way to onboard the user, and then you see that VCs invest in them and not in you. The other expansion model is the rollout model. Now, Uber is a rollout model, Airbnb is a rollout model, TaxiBeat is a rollout model, food delivery, and most marketplaces, whether it be for plumbers or for used clothes, etc. These are about physical goods and services that are delivered more efficiently if you use software. And the hope of each entrepreneur is if they're successful in the first location, they learn how to do it, and then it's a cookie cutter thing, and you can easily transfer it to other locations. And in Greece, we have seen many attempts at such businesses. Some do succeed on a small scale, and some others do become dominant in the Greek market. eFood, for example, which was bought last year by a German, pan-European German player, was a dominant player in the Greek market, but they had not expanded to any other country. But I really think that very few of those rollout models actually have the potential to expand to many other countries. We have not seen it yet happening in Greece, even except for TaxiBit, and I'll talk a bit about that. But most of the other people, even though most of the other cases, even though with excellent teams, don't find it very easy to keep capturing cities around Europe or in Asia or in the United States. Because you need local business development, which means you need to build your supply base in each case, whether this is rooms or yachts or tour guides. You need to build a community of users in each case, and often you need to localize your product. You're not sure if you have devised a menu in a delivery service that sells well in Athens, you're not sure if that same menu or a similar menu will sell well in Madrid. You have to go through the testing process again and again. The final model, in which I believe in very much, is what I call the high engagement model. This is where you have a unique offering. High engagement models are very diverse. I mean, there are very many different things, but they do have one thing in common. They target very demanding users based on a very unique offering. And much of that is science-based. Much of this uniqueness is about hard science, something you have developed in a laboratory that other people don't have. Vasilis of Intelent talked about demanding users. In these models, you cannot onboard people quickly. They will not decide within minutes or even within a couple of hours if they like your product. You have to work with them closely. Models like that may be the users you're targeting. In models like that may be engineers who design touch screens, and you are giving them some sort of simulation software that is 20 times faster than everything else. It may be athletes you are targeting, who need to train more efficiently, and you're giving them a set of high-tech clothes that can monitor muscle intensity and help them avoid injury. Your users may be doctors in remote towns, and you are giving them a small spectral camera that they can attach to the smartphone and detect early symptoms of skin disease. These, all three, are real examples from our portfolio. The difference from the low-touch cases is that the potential customers will pay much more, but they will take much more convincing. So, the problem with this model is that in the beginning, it is not scalable. It's not something you can easily scale from 10 customers to 1,000. In the beginning, your first 10 customers or your first 100 customers are going to be captured one by one through a very long traditional sales process, which means personal networking, et cetera, et cetera. You actually have to visit them on site sometimes, which is not what tech entrepreneurs usually have in mind. Many do not understand this traditional sales process that is needed in these high engagement models. The other thing is that in order to approach your clients, your target clients, especially if these are large corporations, you need insider networks. They will not respond to a cold email. If you meet them at an industry conference and impress them, okay, they may to some extent follow up. But what does make a difference if a trusted insider in the business actually says, look, you have to meet these guys. These guys are doing some excellent work in Crete. I think they are what you need. Devote some time to them. This works much better than any other approach. So you need insider networks. And after you have succeeded in the stage of early adopters, your first few users, and they are enthusiastic, then you're going to need to reach much wider audiences to become a real business and to be profitable. And for this, you probably will need some sort of partner company that is much, much bigger than your own. These are the established providers to the industry, the ones who have the sales force, the ones who are already inside the workflow of your big customers, or who have a broad suite of products on which your product can be attached. If you have a medical device, those big players will help you to get FDA approvals and will help you to get on the reimbursement list of the National Health Service. If you make wearable technology for athletes, these large players will use their supply chain to provide these clothes at scale and at low cost, and to place them in the right shops. And if you're solving electromagnetic fields, these will get you into all the laboratories that need your solution. So these high engagement businesses need networks and partners much, much more than the low touch or the rollout models do. And this is where diaspora Greeks can be very, very valuable. I'll talk about this in the next slide, but let me add this about the high engagement stuff. I believe that for the Greek ecosystem, these businesses, the ones that are based on science and on domain expertise, are going to be the stars of the next 5 years. It's not as far away as you may think, Marina. I think it's closer than that. We have some potential stars now. I think they are exactly at this stage at the sweet spot of what Greece can offer. And I think we'll be seeing several of them getting acquired by companies like General Electric or like Tesla or like Adidas. More successes that way than we are going to be seeing rollouts or low-touch products. So in this context, what can diaspora Greeks do to help? There are a few roles that they can have. If we're talking about a science-based product, research scientists, we have a huge number of top-notch research scientists in universities abroad who can answer questions like, is the concept unique? Is the science sound? Who else around the globe does similar things? I'm running out of time, so I'll be very quick about that. They can be industry insiders that I mentioned about before, people who are linked into particular businesses you want to speak to. Who is the VP of engineering of whatever you mentioned before? This type of questions they can answer. They can be angel investors, as Marina is prompting you to be directly into startups, or they can be investors into venture capital funds like ours if they don't want to take a direct role. And finally, and most interestingly, they can be co-founders in mixed geography models like Book and Bloom. We can hope to see, and we're already seeing people where one of the founders is in Britain and the other is in Thessaloniki, for example. All of these are the roles that diaspora can play. Very quickly, I want to say that in our attempt to energize more companies, especially in the field of high engagement in science and in domain expertise and so on, we're setting up a new fund, which will be called PI, Kefaleo P, Big Pi, which is a new seed fund based in Greece. We will be doing a very wide scope of technologies, not just software, but medical technology, material science, robotics, and so on, focusing on science, focusing on domain expertise. And this is where we're going to need your help as diaspora Greeks. And we're trying to build a global network of people who can provide any of the roles that I mentioned before. Let me finish with a general comment. We've had hundreds of thousands of educated, motivated Greeks leaving the country the last 6 years. Under different circumstances, they would have been in Greece, building very productive businesses or being valuable employees in such business, but now it seems like we have lost them. However, it is not too late to reverse this. And I'm saying regardless of what politics is doing, regardless of institutional difficulties in Greece, it is up to us in this room and in the co-working spaces in Athens and in the laboratories of Chania and Iraklio to build a community out of which profitable businesses will emerge and out of which we can change the course of our society. Thank you.